Prologue. They say a child's first word is always their mother. Mama, mommy, the softest syllable the human mouth can make, shaped like a kiss. Elena Hale supposes that's true. Except when your son hasn't made any sound at all in 2 years. Except when the day your boy finally speaks, the word that comes out of him isn't your name. It's daddy. And he's saying it to a wolf. Now before we go any further, I want you to sit with that image for just a second, because child psychologists have a term for what happened to Noah Hale. It's called selective mutism from acute trauma. A child stops speaking not because he can't, but because somewhere in his small mind he's decided words are no longer safe. Words didn't keep his father alive. So why would words be worth using? 2 years of silence is a long time. Most doctors will tell you that after the 18-month mark, the prognosis gets grim. Children who don't come back by then often don't come back at all. Which is why what happens next, what Noah does on a foggy morning in October, should not, by any medical standard, be possible. For most mothers, a child's first word is a milestone to frame. For Elena, it's the moment her dead husband walked out of the fog and put her whole world on its knees. Because grief was supposed to be the worst thing that could happen to her. Grief she'd made her peace with. Grief she could survive. But fate has a cruel sense of humor. Because out there, past the broken fence, past the meadow, past the tree line where the morning mist curls like something breathing, something waits for her. Something with yellow eyes. Something that remembers the taste of her skin. Something that has been watching her kitchen window for 730 nights and is done waiting. Elena doesn't know it yet. But by sundown tomorrow, she'll know that the worst thing isn't losing the man you love. The worst thing is finding him again and not recognizing him. Chapter 1. The Wolf at the Fence. The fog is what wakes her, not the alarm, not Noah, the way it presses against the bedroom window like a thing asking to be let in. Elena sits up, the clock reads 6:14. The house is too quiet. Noah? No answer. She hasn't heard an answer in 2 years, but she keeps asking, the way you keep setting 2 plates. Some habits outlive the reason you started them. And I want to pause there, because that one sentence, some habits outlive the reason you started them, is a whole widow's life compressed into 9 words. Therapists who specialize in traumatic bereavement will tell you the hardest part of losing a spouse isn't the first month, it's the 18th. Because by the 18th month, the world expects you to be over it. But the body hasn't caught up. The hand still reaches for the empty side of the bed. The mouth still calls out for the person who isn't there. The grief moves from the living room into the muscles. It becomes something you wear under your clothes. Elena Hale has been wearing it for 2 years. She crosses the hall. Noah's bed is empty. The stuffed wolf Ethan bought the day he was born is lying face down on the pillow. The sheets are still warm. And somewhere, faint, muffled by fog, her son is laughing. Elena hasn't heard that sound in 730 days. For a full second, she doesn't recognize it. Her body remembers before her brain does. She's already running. Down the stairs, out the back door, barefoot into the wet grass, nightgown sticking to her legs, heart in her throat. The meadow is white. The fog swallows everything past 10 feet. She can't see the fence, can't see the tree line, can only hear the laughter and something else under it, a slow rhythmic huffing, something big. Breathing. Her hand closes on the garden hoe by the porch rail. She doesn't remember picking it up. She runs toward the sound, and then the fog parts. And Elena Hale stops breathing. Her son is sitting on the back of a wolf, not a dog, a wolf. Gray as wet stone, shoulders high as Noah's chest, paws the size of her 2 hands laid flat. And her silent, shrinking, ghost-eyed boy, the boy who hasn't spoken since the day the sheriff came with his hat in his hands, is gripping its fur with both small fists and laughing with his throat open, the way he used to laugh when his father tossed him in the air. Noah, Elena whispers. The hoe is shaking in her hands. Noah, get down. Get away from it, baby. Get. The wolf turns its head, and Elena forgets how to hold the hoe, forgets where she is, forgets her own name for one long terrible second, because the eyes are yellow. Amber, really, the color of old whiskey held up to firelight, and she has kissed the eyelids above those eyes 1,000 times. She has fallen asleep next to those eyes. She has argued with those eyes across a kitchen table over who forgot to buy milk. She knows those eyes. Now here's the thing most people don't understand about recognition. We think we recognize faces. We don't. Neurologists have known this for 40 years. What the human brain actually recognizes is a pattern. The specific way a person holds themselves, the specific color of light reflecting off a specific curve of iris, the micro-gestures, no one ever catalogs, but the heart learns by heart. When someone you love has been gone long enough, you forget their face. You do not forget their pattern. Show me a widow, and I'll show you a woman who can recognize her husband's footstep from 2 rooms away, even 10 years after he's buried. This is what is happening to Elena Hale in the wet grass. Her brain is telling her she is looking at a wolf. But her pattern recognition, the older, deeper thing, the thing that does not lie, is telling her she is looking at her husband. The wolf doesn't lunge, doesn't growl. It lowers its great head, slow, careful, and sets her son down in the grass the way a father sets down a sleeping child. Then it takes 3 steps back, not fleeing, giving her room. Noah runs. His small body slams into her legs. He buries his face in her nightgown, and Alina's hands find his hair, his shoulders, the back of his neck, and the question is already forming. Are you hurt? Did it touch you, baby? Baby, are you? When Noah tips his face up and speaks. His voice is thin, rusty, the voice of a bell that hasn't been rung in a long time, but it's his. Mommy, he says, don't chase Daddy away. Elena's knees stop working. She sits down hard in the wet grass. The fog curls around her waist. She looks at her son. She looks at the wolf, still 3 steps back, patient as a statue. And then her eye catches something in the grass near the porch, the wedding photograph she brought out yesterday to sketch from. The frame has fallen over. The glass is cracked, a single clean line of a crack running right across Ethan's face, splitting his smile in 2. Noah says it again, quieter, just for her. Please, don't. Out at the tree line, the wolf sits down in the wet grass and waits. Chapter 2. Because Grief Learns to Lie. Mrs. Wren is 91 and takes her coffee black. She keeps a wooden bracelet on her left wrist that she has never taken off, not even to wash. And she has a way of looking at people 1 beat too long, the way you look at a pot of water waiting to boil. There's a specific kind of old woman you will find in every small town in every country on earth. The sociologist Margaret Mead wrote about them in her field notes. She called them boundary keepers. Women who outlive 3 generations of their own family and end up, almost by accident, becoming the memory holders of a place. They remember which houses had fires, which marriages had secrets, which woods shouldn't be walked through after dark. They don't advertise what they know. They wait for you to come to them with the right question. Elena has been bringing Mrs. Wren coffee every Tuesday for 4 years, and today, for the first time, she is about to ask the right question. Elena sits at her kitchen table on Thursday morning with Noah asleep on the couch and her hands around a cup going cold. A wolf, Mrs. Wren says. It isn't a question. Big, gray, it was letting him sit on its back. It could have bitten his throat out. It didn't, it looked at me. Elena's voice breaks. It knew me, Mrs. Wren, it knew me. And the boy? He spoke, for the first time. 2 years, 2 years of nothing. Elena presses her palms into her eyes. He called it Daddy. The kitchen goes very still. Mrs. Wren sets her coffee down, folds her hands on the table, looks at Elena with an expression Elena has never seen on her before, something almost like grief. Like somebody has finally asked a question the old woman has been waiting 30 years to answer. Tell me the small things, she says. The small things are the ones that matter. And that, right there, is the line that divides a rational mother from a woman who is about to believe the impossible. The small things are the ones that matter. Because Elena could explain away a wolf. Wolves wander. Wolves get habituated to humans. But Elena cannot explain away the scar on its left shoulder, the one running down from the ridge of the blade, the one Ethan got at 12 from falling off the horse stall, the one she has kissed 100 times in the dark. Elena cannot explain the way the wolf nudged the back door open with its nose last night, using the exact angle Ethan used when his hands were full of coffee. Elena cannot explain the way it stood up and walked in circles when she played their wedding song on the old record player, and then tipped its head back and let out a howl, not a hunting howl, not a warning. A howl that sounded like crying. She tells Mrs. Wren all of it. The old woman closes her eyes. "Child," she says, "what do you know about your husband's people?" "Not much. His father died when he was 12. His mother before that. He said his grandmother was strange. He said they came from an old line up in the mountains. Silver Hollow." Silver Hollow. Mrs. Wren gets up, slowly, crosses to a drawer Alina has never seen her open, takes out a small cloth-bound book, the cover soft as skin, sets it on the table, doesn't open it. "My grandmother was Blackfoot," she says. "She told me stories about the Hale line when I was smaller than your Noah." I didn't believe her. You don't believe your grandmothers until they're gone and you can't ask them anything else. She taps the book with one thin finger. "The Hale men aren't ordinary, Alina. Their blood remembers something older than their minds. When one of them is hurt past bearing, or betrayed by his own kin, which is worse, the body does a mercy. It gives him another shape, something that can survive what the man could not." Elena stares at her. "You're telling me?" "I'm telling you that the thing in your meadow is a man who forgot how to be a man, because being a man was killing him. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Folklore, superstition, a lonely widow being told a comforting story by a lonely old woman. And I'm not here to tell you what to believe about skinwalkers or Silver Hollow, or whether blood can really remember things the mind has forgotten. What I will tell you is this. Trauma researchers have documented in peer-reviewed medical journals a phenomenon called dissociative fugue. It is the medical term for a state in which a human being, after an event too catastrophic for the mind to process, simply leaves. They walk away from their own identity. They live in the woods. They stop using their own name. They sometimes lose language entirely. They don't remember who they were. This is real. This is documented. This happens to soldiers after battles, and to mothers after the deaths of their children, and it has been known to last, in extreme cases, for years. So whether the thing in Elena Hale's meadow is a wolf, or a man who has lost so much of himself that his body took pity on him, the end result is the same. He has been waiting a long time to be called home. Then why hasn't he come back? Elena's voice comes out small. If it's him, if it's really him, why does he just sit there? Why won't he? Mrs. Wren opens the book. The pages are yellow. She doesn't read from them. She taps a passage with her fingernail and looks up. 3 moons. That's the window. 3 full moons from the change. If his mate, the one who knew him in the bones, the one whose love is older than words, doesn't find him and call him by his soul name before the 3rd moon closes, the man drowns. Only the animal is left, he forgets, forever. Elena's hands are cold. How long? You told me he disappeared almost 2 years ago. 730 days. Then, Mrs. Wren says very quietly, you have until the next full moon, child. 2 weeks, maybe less. Elena looks down at her coffee. She can see her own face in it, distorted, wobbling. What if I don't know his soul name? You do, Mrs. Wren says. He gave it to you. You just don't remember yet that you're carrying it. Chapter 3. The Wolf. The wolf watches from the tree line. She is inside the house now, the female, his female. The small one, his blood, his cub, the one whose laugh he would tear a grown man's throat out for, is curled on the couch under a blanket the old woman gave them. Safe. Warm. His. The wolf's ribs rise and fall on the cold grass. He has been watching this house for 730 nights. He has watched her cry. He has watched her set 2 plates and put one away untouched. He has watched her kneel beside their son's bed and whisper his name into the dark as if the dark might answer. It couldn't answer. He couldn't answer. Not in words. But he came back anyway. Night after night. Because the human part of him is failing now, slipping, thinning, drowning in the long dark well of the animal, and the wolf is the only part of him that still knows what love is for. His shoulder aches where the old scar runs, the one she used to kiss. He doesn't cross the fence. He is not allowed, not yet. If he crosses it before she remembers, his hunger will take him. He has seen what happens to wolves who take what has not yet been given. He has been one, in the long red dreams that come to him now when he sleeps. He has tasted blood he didn't mean to taste. He has lost days he will never get back. So he waits. He watches her through the kitchen window. He watches the way her shoulders have hollowed, The way her hair has gone dull. The way she has stopped painting. The way her wedding ring has worn thin from being turned on her finger at night when she cannot sleep. Remember me, he thinks. He does not have a mouth that can say it. Remember me, Elena. Remember me before I forget you. The wind shifts, and a new scent reaches him. It comes up the driveway on the back of a black truck. Oil and leather and cedar cologne, and something else, something older, something his wolf brain has filed under kill, kill, kill on sight. The fur rises along the wolf's spine, his lips pull back from his teeth. His brother has come. Chapter 4. The Brother. Silas Vance brings flowers when he visits. Always has. It's part of the performance, part of the costume. And now we need to talk about Silas. Because Silas is not a stranger with a gun. Silas is something statistically far more dangerous. The FBI maintains a running dataset on homicide in the United States, updated every year, and the number that shows up in every single report is this. When an adult is murdered in this country, the killer is overwhelmingly not a stranger. It's a family member, a spouse, a sibling. Forensic psychologists have a name for the kind of person who can attend their brother's funeral, hold the widow's hand at the graveside, and drive her casseroles for 2 years straight. They call it familial predation. And the profile is always the same. They are charming. They are helpful. They remember birthdays. They bring flowers. They do not look like what they are. Silas Vance has been playing his role for 2 years. The role is about to end. Elena. He kisses her cheek in the doorway. He smells like cedar and whiskey, and she has to work not to step backward. You're looking good. Some color back in your face. Come in, Silas. He comes in. He always comes in. He doesn't wait for invitations, because invitations imply he could be refused, and he cannot imagine being refused by Elena. That's the part he doesn't hide well enough. That's the part she's starting to see. He sets a leather folder on the kitchen table. I won't take long. The north parcel, the timber tract. I've been talking to a buyer. Good guy, family money. He's offering a fair price. I figured we'd sign it together and put it in trust for Noah. College, medical, whatever the kid needs. We, Elena says. You know what I mean. You're the widow. I'm the brother. It's joint. Pay attention to that word. Joint. Because it is the small lie inside which the big lie lives. Joint ownership is a legal fiction. Silas is trying to install in Elena's mind, and it is the same move that has been run on widows for centuries. Estate attorneys who work on elder fraud will tell you the pattern never changes. Step 1. The bereaved is too exhausted to read documents. Step 2. The relative positions themselves as the helpful one. Step 3. Papers get signed in a haze of grief. Step 4. 5 years later, the widow wakes up to find her house belongs to someone else. It almost worked on Elena. It almost worked because grief is a kind of anesthetic. For 2 years, Elena Hale has been numb enough that she did not notice how much of Silas's help came with papers attached. She is not numb anymore. Through the kitchen window, Elena can see the wolf. He has come closer. He is standing now in the middle of the meadow, 50 yards from the back door, and every line of his body is pointed at Silas like a drawn bow. His ears are flat, his tail is down. A low rolling sound is coming out of him that she can feel through the floorboards. The plates are shaking on the rack. Elena. Silas snaps his fingers near her face. You with me? You want to sit down and read it? I want to read it first. It's 30 pages of boilerplate. I want to read it first. Silas looks at her, and for one long second, one clean second, the mask slips. She sees something underneath it that she has never wanted to see. Something bored, something hungry, something that has been pretending for 2 years and is tired. Then it's gone. Sure, honey. Take your time. I'll swing back tomorrow. He moves toward the door, and then stops, tilts his head. He has heard something. Is there a dog out back? Stray. Noah's been feeding it. It sounded big. He walks to the back window, looks out, and Elena sees something she will think about for the rest of her life. Silas's face goes white. Not pale, white. The blood leaves him so fast his lips turn gray. His mouth opens. His throat works around a name that he doesn't let himself say. For one heartbeat, Silas Vance looks at the wolf in the meadow, the way a man looks at a ghost that has come back to collect a debt. And this is a reaction that tells you everything you need to know about Silas Vance. Because a man who is truly innocent does not go white at the sight of a stray wolf. A man who is truly innocent does not look at an animal and feel hunted. A man who is truly innocent does not, in the private laboratory of his own face, rehearse the name of somebody he thought he had buried. Guilt, psychologists tell us, lives in the autonomic nervous system. The conscious mind can lie. The body cannot. The body will give you up every time. And Silas's body has just told Alina the truth he will spend the next 24 hours trying to take back. Then he pulls himself together. The smile snaps back on, brittle as ice on a windshield. You should call animal control, he says. Wild wolves near the house, that's dangerous. A child could get killed. I'll think about it. Do more than think. His hand is on the doorknob, he doesn't turn around, and he says soft, almost to himself, the thing that tells her everything. Some things, he says, are supposed to stay dead. The door closes, his truck starts, the gravel crunches. Elena stands in the kitchen, she does not move for a long time. That night, a gunshot cracks across the meadow. Elena is upstairs drawing a bath. She is in the hallway before her conscious mind is caught up, wrapping a towel around herself, barefoot down the stairs, throwing open the back door. The meadow is dark, the moon is gone behind the clouds. She opens her mouth and a name falls out. Not Noah's, a name she has not said aloud in 2 years. Ethan. Silence. Then she sees it, the wedding photograph, the one with the cracked glass. It's lying in the grass by the porch steps. The frame has split cleanly in two, and 6 yards out past the porch light, in the silver grass, a dark, wet patch the shape of a hand. Blood. Chapter 5, The Cave. Noah cries all night. He doesn't scream, he doesn't wail. He makes the small hiccuping sound of a child who is trying to be brave and failing, curled against her shoulder in her bed. And every time Elena says it's all right, baby, the words die in her mouth because she doesn't know if it is. At dawn he sits up, his face is swollen, his eyes are clear. Mommy, he says, get your shoes. Noah, he's hurt bad. He said to come. Get your shoes. Elena gets her shoes. Her son leads her into the forest like he has walked this path 100 times. Over the split oak, across the stream where it runs shallow, past the boulder shaped like a sleeping bear. Elena follows with the first aid kit banging against her thigh, and she cannot understand how a 5-year-old who has not been in these woods since he could walk knows every turn. Noah, how do you know where to go? He told me. Noah doesn't slow down. Last night? In my head. Elena doesn't ask another question. She doesn't have the vocabulary for it. And I want to stop here, because what Noah just described is a phenomenon that sounds like magic, but has a real clinical name. Developmental psychologists call it implicit attunement. It's the bond that forms in the first 3 years of a child's life between that child and their primary caregivers, and it operates below the level of speech. A child of 2 knows without words when his father is sad. A child of 3 can feel across a room when his mother is afraid. This is the bandwidth the Hale family's old magic is riding on. Not supernatural ether, but a bond that was already there. Ethan may be a wolf now, but the part of him that was Noah's father never stopped broadcasting, and the part of Noah that was his son never stopped listening. The rest of the world just didn't have the tuning to hear it. The cave is set into a rock face Elena didn't know existed. The mouth is half hidden under a curtain of moss. Inside it smells of wet stone and hot metal, and Elena's stomach drops before her eyes adjust to the dark. The wolf is lying on his side. His left flank is black and wet. His breathing is shallow. Too shallow. When Elena steps in, his eyes find her. Through the fog of pain, and in them, through the animal, is something that is not animal. Something that says you came, you came, you came. Elena drops to her knees in the dirt. Her hands move before her mind does. She has been a mother for 5 years. She has dressed a scraped knee and a split lip and a forehead burning with fever, and her hands know what to do when her mind has left the building. She tears the saline, presses the cloth. The wolf flinches, makes a sound, low, broken. I know. Hold still. Please, love, hold still. She is crying. She does not know when she started. The bullet has gone clean through the shoulder muscle. He will live. He will live. He will live. It is only when the bandage is tight and she sits back on her heels to breathe that Noah, standing quiet at the cave mouth, says, "Mommy, look down." She looks down. On the dirt floor of the cave, scratched into the wet earth, are letters. Not drag marks, not scrawl. Letters, 10 of them. Pressed deep, drawn slow. The work of an animal's paw guided by a man's failing mind. Elena, do not sign. The air leaves her. She stares at the dirt, at the words, at the wolf, at the bandage on his shoulder, at the scar she knows by heart, the one she has kissed 1,000 times in the dark. She puts her hand on his face. Ethan, she whispers. Oh my God, Ethan. The wolf closes his eyes, and a long shudder goes through him. The kind of shudder a man makes when he has been carrying something too heavy for too long, and is finally allowed to put it down. Chapter 6. The Shed. She can't carry him. Nobody could. But she can sit with him through the day, and she can bring water, and when the sun drops low and gold, he is on his feet again, shaky, on 3.5 legs, leaning against her hip, and she walks him back down the mountain and into the old tool shed at the far end of the property. She makes a bed of blankets on the floor. She brings in a bowl of water. She lights a kerosene lantern on the workbench. She does not go inside the house that night. She sits against the shed wall with her knees pulled up and the wolf's great head resting on her thigh, and she looks at him, at the scar on his shoulder, at the paw across her knee, heavy as a living hand. I don't understand any of this, she says. The wolf opens his eyes. In the lantern light, they are almost brown. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how this works. I don't know if you can understand me. He lifts his head, slowly. The way a man lifts his head when his wife has been crying and he doesn't know what he did wrong. He reaches out his muzzle and presses it, gentle, careful, to the inside of her wrist. Exactly where Ethan used to press his mouth every morning before he left for work. A little kiss. A private one. A thing he invented in the 3rd week of their marriage and never stopped. Elena breaks. She puts her face into the fur of his neck. She weeps the way she was not allowed to weep at the funeral, where people were watching, where Silas had his hand on her back. She weeps the way a woman weeps when she has been carrying a thing for 2 years and is finally told she can set it down. The wolf does not move. He holds perfectly still. And his warmth goes into her, and her tears go into his fur, and somewhere over the ridge the first stars come out, and Noah, watching from the kitchen window of the house, presses his small palm to the glass and smiles. And I want you to hold this image in your mind, because what you are watching right now is not a fantasy. It is what grief researchers call witnessed mourning. For 2 years, Elena Hale was not allowed to grieve properly. She was the widow. She had the funeral audience. She had the casseroles and the concerned looks. What she did not have was a safe place to make the animal sound. The real sound. The sound without the company manners. Widows are expected to cry prettily or not at all, and so most of them go underground with it. They sob into pillows at 3 a.m. They hold it down at their children's birthday parties. They lose a decade of their own lives to keeping other people comfortable. When a widow finally finds a place she can let the real sound out, that is a kind of resurrection, even if the person holding her happens to be in the wrong shape for it. Chapter 7. The Box. Elena drives into town the next morning. She does not sleep well. She doesn't need to. Something in her has gone still and hard and very clear, the way the air goes still before lightning hits a tree. First stop, the county records office. A pleasant, distracted woman prints her the accident report. $3.85. Elena carries it to her car and reads it in the parking lot, and her hands go cold. The report is signed by Silas Vance. It describes a single vehicle accident on the Black Ridge Pass. It describes a gas tank fire. No recoverable remains due to the severity of the fire. Ethan's truck had a diesel engine. Diesel doesn't ignite like gasoline. Ethan used to tell her that. The small, proud, explaining smile of a man who liked being the one who knew practical things. That's why the trucks use it, babe. Diesel's hard to set on fire. Now, this is the part of the case a competent investigator would have caught on day 1. Diesel fuel has a flash point of approximately 125 to 180 degrees Fahrenheit, 2 to 3 times higher than gasoline. Diesel does not typically ignite from impact. It requires a sustained source of heat, usually applied deliberately. Any rural sheriff in a ranch in county knows this. Any insurance fraud investigator knows this. The fact that the accident report was accepted at face value tells you something about either the competence of the investigation or the influence of the person who signed it. She puts the report in the glove compartment. Second stop, First Montana Bank. Ma'am, do you have the box number? 417. Is your name on it? It is. The teller leads her back, the heavy door, the row of numbered drawers. Elena carries the long, thin metal box into a small private room, closes the door, sits down and opens it. Inside, Ethan's father's original will, handwritten. 14 years old. The entire Black Ridge timber tract, 1,122 acres, to my son Ethan James Hale. And in the margin, in the old man's cramped cursive, Silas will be provided for through other means. He is not to have the land. He does not understand what the land is for. A surveyor's map, a red circle around a 40-acre strip of the north parcel. In the margin, in Ethan's handwriting, copper, zinc. Galen Mining offered 40M for mineral rights, a life insurance policy, taken out on Ethan's life 23 days before the accident. $2 million. Beneficiary Elena Hale. The signature on the bottom is not Ethan's. Elena knows his signature. The real one has a long looping H. This one has a short flat H, the kind Silas uses on Christmas cards. And here is what the documents in that safe deposit box tell you, in the plain language of forensic accounting. 1. Silas Vance had a motive worth $40 million. 2. He had a premeditation window of at least 3 weeks, because that is when he forged the life insurance policy in his brother's name. 3. He had opportunity. He was the only other person on Black Ridge past that night. Forensic document examiners have a term for what Silas did with the insurance paperwork. They call it signature simulation. And here's the thing about signature simulation. It is almost always caught because the forger can imitate the look of a signature but cannot reproduce the motor memory of the hand that made it. Pen pressure differs. Stroke speed differs. The loops come out wrong in ways even the forger cannot see. Every signature is a fingerprint, and the fingerprint on this policy does not belong to the man Silas was pretending was his brother. Silas Vance is now guilty of at least 4 federal crimes, and he doesn't know Elena has the file. And last, folded in half, sealed, an envelope addressed in Ethan's hand. Elena. She opens it. Ellie, I'm writing this because I'm scared. Silas is in trouble. I've been going through Dad's trust. He's been pulling money out of it for 2 years, around $60,000 plus some stocks he moved into his own name. I think he's into something bad. I don't know what yet. I'm going to meet him this weekend up at Black Ridge. He keeps saying he wants to talk about the timber parcel and the mineral rights. A company called Galen Mining has been sniffing around. I want to handle this quiet. He's my brother Ellie. I want to give him a chance. But if something goes wrong, if I don't come home, open this box. The land is yours and Noah's. Don't sign anything he puts in front of you. Don't. I love you. I love you so goddamn much. Whatever happens up there, you remember that. Every day. Elena reads it 3 times. She doesn't cry. She doesn't shake. Something has clicked into place behind her eyes. The small, cold click of a rifle bolt sliding home. She puts everything back in the box. She locks it. She drives home. On the way, she stops at the hardware store. A small wireless camera, 2 voice recorders, a roll of black tape, a prepaid cell phone. She pays cash. The clerk doesn't ask questions. She doesn't look like a woman who would answer them. When she pulls into her driveway, the wolf is waiting on the back porch. He has dragged himself out of the shed to meet her. His ears are forward. He knows she has been somewhere. Elena kills the engine. She walks up to him. She kneels. She puts both hands on the sides of his great face, and she leans her forehead to his, and she speaks to him the way Noah said she could, without her mouth, from somewhere inside her chest. I know what he did to you. The wolf's whole body shudders under her hands. A long breath leaves him. Not pain this time, relief, grief finally being witnessed. I'm going to make him say it out loud. Chapter 8. The Soul Name. She sits with him in the shed that night. She doesn't know the mechanics of what has happened to her husband, the magic or the biology or the curse or whatever Mrs. Wren called it. She only knows one thing, the thing the old woman said. You do know his soul name. He gave it to you. You just don't remember yet that you're carrying it. Elena closes her eyes, and she remembers their wedding night. a rented cabin up near Glacier, after the vows and the champagne and the long, quiet drive into the dark. She had been lying next to him in the bed, and the snow was coming down outside soft. It sounded like somebody whispering, and Ethan had said low, serious, in the voice he used for the things that mattered, "I want to tell you a name. Not my name. The other one. The one my grandmother gave me when I was born. My family does this. You don't use it in the regular world, but if you ever really need me, if something bad happens and I can't hear you any other way, you say this name and I'll come. Even if I'm across the country, even if I'm nowhere, I'll come." She had laughed, nervous, a little drunk. "What is this? A safe word? For the soul," he had said, smiling against her hair. A safe word for the soul. And he had told her, and she had promised never to say it out loud unless she meant it. She has not said it in 6 years. And think for a second about the wisdom of that particular tradition. In almost every human culture, from the Celts to the Egyptians to the indigenous peoples of the Pacific Northwest, there is some version of this concept. A soul name, a true name. A name that is not for daily use, but for emergency. Anthropologists will tell you the belief rests on a simple intuition, that the name we answer to in public is not the deepest part of ourselves. The deepest part is private, sacred, given only to those we love most. And when that part of us is called, by the one person we gave the name to, the self responds in a way it will not respond to any other summons. Whether you believe this as magic or as metaphor, the underlying truth is the same. Love knows the private name. Love is allowed to use it. And sometimes, love is the only thing that can reach a person who has walked too far into the dark. Elena kneels in the lantern light. She puts her hands on either side of the wolf's face, one on each side, the way you hold a face you are trying to make look at you. His heart beats under her wrist. "I'm going to say it," she whispers. "I don't know if it will work. I don't think you're ready yet. I don't think I am either, but I want you to know I know it. I want you to know I never forgot." And she says it. Once. Soft. Just the name. A tremor runs through him from nose to tail. His eyes, and this she will remember until the day she dies, the yellow fades for one clean second. For one shimmering second they are brown. Ethan's brown. Looking at her, really looking. And his throat makes a sound she has heard once before in her life, on the night his father died upstairs in this house. A human sob. Low, broken. A sound an animal cannot make. Then it's gone. The yellow snaps back. The sob is a whine. Not enough. Not yet. But his forehead comes down against hers, and he closes his eyes and into her mind. Clear as a voice on the telephone, clear as a whisper in a dark room, the memory pours in. She sees the mountain pass. Snow falling. Ethan's truck, headlights on. Ethan standing in the road, tired, saying, "Silas, man, please, just come home with me. We'll figure this out. You don't have to." She hears the small, flat sound of a pistol. She sees Silas crouched down, breathing hard, looking at the thing that used to be his brother. She hears his voice, almost gentle, almost sorry. "The land's worth more than blood, Eth. I'm sorry." Elena opens her eyes. Her face is wet. The wolf is watching her. His yellow eyes are not yellow all the way through, and she knows now, all the way down in her bones, that this is her husband. She stands up, dusts off her jeans, picks up the lantern. "Tomorrow," she says quietly, "I'm going to set the table for him. And when I call your name, you come." The wolf bares his teeth. It isn't a smile, but it's close. Chapter 9. The dinner. Silas calls at 9 the next morning. His voice is syrup. "Hey sis, listen, I was thinking, why don't we do this over dinner? I'll bring the paperwork, I'll bring a nice bottle, we'll do it right. None of this signing in a hurry stuff, you deserve better." "That sounds lovely, Silas. 7 o'clock? 7's perfect. I'll bring flowers. You don't have to." "I want to." She hangs up. She stands in the kitchen holding the phone. Her hands are not shaking. And pay attention to that small fact. Her hands are not shaking, because it is the tell of a specific psychological transformation that trauma researchers have been documenting since the Second World War. It's sometimes called terminal clarity. The moment when a person who has been drowning in emotion for years crosses a line, stops drowning, and starts moving. Victims become strategists. Prey becomes predator. It is usually the last thing the person hurting them sees coming, because they have spent months or years training themselves to see only the shaking version. The not-shaking version is a woman they have never met. The not-shaking version has spent 24 hours doing forensic accounting at a kitchen table. The not-shaking version has a plan. At 10, she drives Noah to Mrs. Wren's with a small overnight bag and instructions rehearsed twice. The old woman takes her grandson's hand and looks at Alina over his head. You want me to keep him until tomorrow? If I don't call by 8 a.m., I want you to give the envelope on my kitchen counter to Sheriff Briggs. It's got copies of everything. The will, the letter, the forged signature. I know what to do, child. Mrs. Wren reaches into the pocket of her apron and hands Alina a small cloth pouch. Sage and wolfbane. It won't protect you from a man with a gun, but it will clear your head. And Alina? The old woman's face is the face of a woman who has done harder things than this in her long life. When you call him tonight, don't be afraid. Fear interrupts the soul. Love does not. Okay. Call him the way you called him on your wedding night. Okay. Alina drives to the sheriff's office. Sheriff Briggs is 61 and has known her since high school. She puts Ethan's letter and the forged policy on his desk. She does not have time to explain. She tells him to be at her property at 7:15 in the woods behind the house with a deputy. No lights, no knock. She tells him Silas Vance is going to confess at her kitchen table and she needs him to hear it. Sheriff Briggs reads the letter, reads the policy, looks up, and Alina sees, with a small, painful flicker, that he is not surprised. Not entirely. Alina, I've been worried about your brother-in-law for a while. Will you come? I'll come. She drives home. She showers, puts on the gray sweater Ethan used to like, ties her hair back in the low ponytail he used to reach up and tug when he was teasing her. Her face in the mirror is pale. Her eyes are clear. At 6:45, she pours 2 glasses of wine and does not drink hers. At 6:58, she stands at the back window. The meadow is dark. She cannot see him, but she knows he is there. Not yet, she tells him silently. When I call, and inside her head, low and quiet and steady, a hand squeezed around hers. I'm here. At 7 o'clock, Silas Vance's headlights sweep the driveway. Chapter 10. Ethan. He brings roses, a dozen, wrapped in paper. He kisses her cheek in the doorway and smells like whiskey. You look good, Alina. Widowhood suits you. That's a terrible thing to say. Sorry, I meant you look like you're sleeping again. I am. That's good. He sits at the table. She has set out cheese and bread, 2 glasses of red. He does not reach for the folder yet. First, he wants to play his part, the kind brother-in-law, the protector, the reasonable man. She lets him talk. About the weather, about the roof needing new shingles, about a neighbor's horse that got loose down the main road yesterday. She lets him pour his second glass. She watches his face soften the way men's faces soften when they think they are winning. Then she says it, calm, even, like she's commenting on the weather. Silas, what did Ethan say to you right before you shot him? The change in his face is small, 1/4 of a second. A tightening at the corner of the mouth. But she's looking for it, and she sees it. Alina, honey, what are you talking about? I'm talking about the night Ethan died. On Black Ridge Pass. What did he say to you, right before? I told you. I wasn't there when he fell. I was back at the truck. I heard him slip. By the time I got to the edge, he was Silas. She reaches across the table. She puts Ethan's letter on the tablecloth. She puts the forged policy beside it. She puts the photocopy of his father's real will beside that. And she watches Silas Vance's face do 3 things in 2 seconds. It goes blank, it goes white, and then it goes something else. Something ugly, something honest, something that has been pretending for 2 years and is done pretending. Interrogation specialists have a name for what just happened on Silas Vance's face. They call it mask collapse. It is the physiological event that occurs when a person who has been maintaining a calculated persona is confronted with incontrovertible evidence that the persona has failed. The face does not have a pre-rehearsed expression for this moment because the persona was supposed to handle every moment. So what comes up in the half-second before a new lie can be constructed is the real face underneath. The face the person has been wearing in private for years. It is always uglier than the mask. Alina Hale has just seen her brother-in-law's real face for the first time in a decade of knowing him. She will not forget it. Where did you get these? He says. His voice has dropped half an octave. For my husband, he left them for me. He left them. A short, ugly laugh. He left them. That sanctimonious, he left them. Silas shakes his head, pushes the wineglass away, and when his hand comes up from under the table, it is holding a small black pistol. Elena had known in some part of herself it would end this way. She had rehearsed it, and still her heart skips one terrible beat at the sight of the barrel. You should have just signed it, Silas says. 30% of 40 million. You and the kid would have been set for life. That's what he never understood. You can love the land, or you can let it feed you. You can't do both. You killed him for a mineral lease. I killed him because Monday morning he was going to see the family lawyer. I killed him because he was going to cut me out of the trust. I killed him because... His mouth twists. Because Dad loved him better. It was always Ethan who'd get the land, Ethan who'd get the girl. Ethan's face on the mantle. I was going to get a stipend, a thank you at Christmas. Say it, Silas. Say the words. Say what? Say I killed my brother. I killed my brother. You happy? Is that what you needed? I killed my brother for a piece of land and now I'm going to... Elena speaks. One word. Not loud. Soft, even. The soul name. The name Ethan Hale gave her on their wedding night in a cabin where the snow was falling soft as whispering. The back door explodes off its hinges. Silas whirls. The pistol comes up. He fires wide. The bullet punches a hole in the wall behind Elena's shoulder, and then the gray blur hits him. And Silas Vance, 38 years old, real estate broker, widower's brother, weekly caller, paterfamilias of the Vance branch of the Hale family, goes down under 140 pounds of wolf with his brother's scar on its shoulder. The wolf does not kill him. This is the thing Elena will think about later. The wolf could kill him. The jaws close on the forearm, holding the gun, and the teeth go in, and there is blood. A lot of blood. And Silas screams, and the pistol skitters across the tile, and the wolf's face is 6 inches from Silas's throat, and he does not close. He holds. He stands on his brother's chest, and he looks down into his brother's face with eyes that are not yellow all the way through, and Elena hears it in her head, clear as a church bell. I am not you. I am not you. And this moment, this specific moment, is the moral engine of the whole story. Ethan Hale has spent 2 years inside an animal's body, with an animal's appetites, with an animal's memory of the shot that took his human life away. Every instinct in him is saying close the jaws, finish it, and he does not. Because the difference between the man and the thing that killed him is not superior strength, it is restraint. It is the choice, in the last possible second, to use the teeth to hold rather than to kill. Psychologists have written whole books on this, the difference between justice and revenge. Revenge, they say, is what happens when you let the person who hurt you turn you into a version of themselves. Justice is what happens when you refuse. Ethan Hale, gray and bleeding, refuses. Sheriff Briggs and Deputy Ramos come through the front door with their weapons drawn. They stop dead at the sight of a gray wolf standing on the chest of a bleeding man in a kitchen full of overturned wine glasses. Sheriff Briggs has been a lawman 34 years. He has never seen anything like this. He will not tell anyone what he saw tonight. Elena, he says very carefully, call your dog off. Elena walks around the table, kneels beside her husband, puts a hand on the back of his great gray head. Come on, love. You got him. Let the men take him. The wolf growls one last long deep growl into Silas's face and steps off. Silas is sobbing now, clutching the ruined arm, babbling about a wolf that knows its name, a wolf that knows its goddamn name, and neither the sheriff nor the deputy is writing any of that down. They cuff him. They walk him out to the cruiser. And on the mantle, behind its cracked wedding photo glass, the baby monitor camera keeps recording. Chapter 11, The Third Moon. The wolf moves toward the broken back door. He is limping again. The shoulder has reopened in the fight and blood streaks the gray fur. But he is moving with purpose. Down the porch steps, into the meadow where the grass is silver under a moon that is, Elena realizes only now, enormous. Perfectly full, hanging low over Black Ridge, like an eye that has been waiting a long time. Third night, third moon, Mrs. Wren's window, closing. Elena runs, barefoot through the wet grass, her cardigan flying open, her breath white in the cold, and she catches him at the center of the meadow, at the exact spot where Noah first sat on his back, at the spot where a cracked wedding photograph once lay, and she drops to her knees in front of him. And she puts both her hands on either side of his face. He is shaking, she is shaking. Above them the moon is so full it looks like it's leaning down. "Ethan," she says, "steady. No tremor. Not the soul name this time. The name the world knew. The name on the mailbox. The name she was not allowed to say at the grave. Ethan Hale, come home to me. Come home to your son." A tremor starts in his shoulders. His legs buckle. "Come home," she says. "Come home, come home, come home." She will never be able to describe what happens next. The fur goes first. It doesn't fall out. It withdraws, recedes into the skin, the way water runs back into the earth. The skeleton shifts, wet cracking sounds she will hear in her dreams for years, and there is a long, awful moment where the body in the grass is neither wolf nor man but something in between. She does not look away. She holds his face. She keeps saying his name. The moonlight keeps falling. And then, the man is on his knees in the grass in front of her. Thinner. So much thinner than she remembers. His dark hair is long. There are lines around his eyes that weren't there 2 years ago. He is naked and shivering violently, and his left shoulder is bleeding. And he is looking at her with eyes that are brown. Brown all the way through. And his mouth is open, and he is trying to speak, and nothing will come out. He falls forward into her arms. She catches him. He is heavier than she remembers and lighter than she remembers. He smells like pine and blood and rain. He is sobbing, great broken silent sobs into the curve of her neck, and her arms close around him, and she rocks him, and she rocks him, and she rocks him. "I've got you," she whispers. "I've got you. I've got you." And across the meadow, from the direction of Mrs. Wren's house, a small blonde figure is running. Noah, in his pajamas, in his boots, breath puffing in clouds. He doesn't freeze when he sees them. He doesn't act like a child who has just seen his father come back from the dead. He drops into the grass between them and wraps both his small arms around his father's neck. "I knew it," he says, muffled into Ethan's skin. "I knew if I waited, I knew Mommy would figure it out." Ethan can't speak. He only holds on. "It took you a long time, Mommy," Noah says, turning to her, serious as a judge. "I know, baby, but it's okay. He's home now. That's what matters." And from the dark line of trees at the far edge of the meadow, from the place where her husband lived as something else for 2 years while she grieved and her son waited, Elena hears it, faint, carried on the cold wind, a howl. Not mournful, not angry. One long, clear note from a throat she cannot see. A note that says one has come home, one of ours. There are still others. On the porch of the old house at the bottom of the road, Mrs. Wren closes her eyes and smiles. Epilogue, 1 year later. It takes Ethan a long time to learn how to be a man again. This is the part the old stories leave out. Coming back is not the end. Coming back is the beginning of the hard part. He has forgotten how to hold a spoon. He has forgotten how to sleep on a mattress. For the first 3 weeks, he cannot finish a sentence without losing where he was going. For the first 6 weeks, he cannot sleep indoors. He makes a nest of blankets on the screen porch, and Elena brings him coffee in the morning and does not ask. She does not rush him. And what you're watching in those months is clinically a real process. It is the protocol that trauma specialists use with returning combat veterans, with hostages after a long captivity, with children recovered from extreme neglect. The name for it is graded re-entry. The principle is simple. A person who has spent years in a different nervous system state cannot be dropped back into normal life. They have to be allowed to build it back piece by piece on their own timeline without shame. Elena Hale has never read a book on this. She is simply doing the right thing by instinct, which is, I suspect, how most of the great rescues throughout human history have actually been carried out. Not by experts, but by people who loved somebody enough to be patient. She paints at the kitchen table. She is illustrating a children's book, her first. She used to be a painter before all of this. The grief took the painting from her, and now the painting has come back with the husband. Funny how that works. Funny how the things you lose and the things you find seem to travel together. Ethan learns, every day, a little more, how to sit at the table, how to butter toast, how to laugh at one of Noah's terrible jokes without it coming out of him sounding like a growl, how to touch her, gentle, the way he used to, without the flinch the wolf brought home with him, how to sleep next to her in the bed they bought 7 years ago. The first night he makes it all the way through to morning. She wakes up to find him watching her sleep, and there are tears on his face. And he says, "I didn't think I'd ever get to see this again." And she says, "I know, love, I know." He keeps some things from before. He still howls once on every full moon, not loud. He walks to the back meadow at midnight and he tips back his head and he lets one long note out into the dark, a still here to whoever is listening. Sometimes the woods answer, sometimes they don't. Either way, he comes back inside and goes to sleep. His eyes still go yellow when he's angry. Silas went to trial in the spring. The jury took 4 hours. Attempted murder, insurance fraud, forgery, conspiracy to illegally transfer mineral rights. 28 years. He'll be 66 before he is eligible for parole. Elena does not attend the sentencing. She does not need to. The land went back to its proper name. Black Ridge is Ethan's now, the way his father meant it to be, and he has put the whole north parcel into a conservation easement. No mining, no logging, no sale, in his father's memory. The land, he says, does not belong to the Hales. The Hales are only visitors. Noah turned 6. He talks constantly now, in the overwhelming flood that parents of formerly silent children remember with a kind of exhausted gratitude. He has a favorite dinosaur, Stegosaurus. A favorite food, blueberry pancakes. A father who carries him through the meadow on his shoulders at sunset and who tells him stories, in the dark, about a family of wolves who live up in Silver Hollow and who guard the forest and who are kind to children who get lost. And Elena is pregnant. The doctor says a girl. It is a warm evening in late September. 1 year and a month and 12 days since a gray wolf walked out of the fog carrying her son. Elena sits on the back porch with her hand resting on the hard, round curve of her belly. The meadow is full of late purple lupine and wild daisy. Ethan and Noah are somewhere in the grass. She can hear them laughing, 2 voices pitched differently but in the same rhythm. And the sun is going down behind Black Ridge, and the light is the color of old whiskey held up to firelight. She is working on the final illustration of her book. It will be published in the spring. She has already sent her editor the title, The Wolf Who Came Home. Down the road, on the porch of a much older house, Mrs. Wren is sitting in her rocker with a cup of tea. Her wrist rests against the wooden bracelet she has worn 70 years. She is watching the meadow. She is listening. Somewhere north of them, deep in the dark heart of Silver Hollow, a wolf is running. He has been running a long time. He has a rope-burn scar on his throat. His eyes are not quite yellow, and he does not yet know his own name. Mrs. Wren closes her eyes. "One has come home," she whispers, "to the wind, to the trees, to no one in particular. But Silver Hollow still holds its own. There are others out there who haven't been called yet." She takes a small sip of tea. "Whose turn?" she says softly. "Is it next?" And out in Elena Hale's meadow, in the long gold light, a man who used to be a wolf tosses his laughing son into the air and catches him. His wife on the porch looks up from her painting and smiles at them, the 2 halves of her heart, restored, impossible here. And somewhere up in the high country, a long, clear howl rolls down the side of Black Ridge and lands in the meadow like a hand set gently on a shoulder. Not a morning howl. Not anymore. A welcome. A brother saying, "I see you. I remember you. Come find me when you're ready." The sun drops behind the ridge, the meadow goes the color of slow honey. And Elena Hale, who has buried a husband and found him again, who has learned that love is older and stubborner than death, sets down her paintbrush and walks out into the grass where her family is waiting. So what do we take away from a story like this? 3 things, I think. 1. The body knows the truth before the mind admits it. Elena Hale recognized her husband before she could explain how. Her brain was telling her she was looking at a wolf. Her pattern recognition, the older and deeper thing, was telling her she was looking at the man she married. Trust that older part of yourself. It is almost always right, and it is almost always the last thing you listen to. 2. The people who hurt us the most are rarely strangers. Silas Vance did not come from the outside. He came from inside the family. He had keys to the house, he brought flowers, he cried at the funeral. Statistically, legally, and psychologically, the greatest threat to most human beings is not the predator in the dark. It is the predator at the dinner table. If something in your own life feels off in a way you cannot name, if a relative's help always seems to come with papers attached, if a smile does not reach the eyes, if your body tightens when a certain person walks through the door, listen to that. Your nervous system is a far better detective than your conscience. 3. Love does not restore what was lost. It builds something new on the same land. Ethan Hale came home, but he did not come home the way he left. He came home thinner, scarred, with eyes that still go yellow when he is angry, with the memory of 2 years on 4 legs living in him, the way a second language lives in the body of someone who learned it late. And that is the truth of all real recoveries. From grief, from illness, from the long disappearances we all endure. We don't get the same person back. We get the person who survived. And if we are lucky and patient and brave enough to sit in the dark with them while they learn how to be themselves again, we get to watch them rebuild. Not the old life, a new one. With scars, with wisdom, with a full moon they still step out to greet every month because some part of who they had to become in order to survive is a part of them forever. That is the real story of the wolf who came home. That is the real story of everyone who ever made it back. Thank you for listening. If this story moved something in you, leave a comment and tell me the name of somebody in your own life who came back from a long dark place. A parent, a friend, a version of yourself. I read every one. And if you want another story like this one, a forbidden mate, a rejected Luna, a brother who came back wrong, an alpha who waited 1,000 years, tell me in the comments. The next moon is coming. And I will see you there.